You know that feeling when you're waiting for a package to arrive, and every day you check the tracking, hoping for a change, but it just keeps saying out for delivery? That's what waiting for an Australian visa can feel like, except the stakes are much higher. Instead of a new phone or a pair of shoes, you're waiting for the green light to start a new chapter of your life. Whether you're a student, a skilled worker, a partner, or a parent, the uncertainty can be overwhelming. But here's the good news. You don't have to navigate this journey alone, and you don't have to rely on rumors or outdated information. In this video, I'm going to break down the latest Australia visa processing times for September 2025, explain what's really happening behind the scenes, and give you practical tips to help you move forward with confidence. Let's start by acknowledging the elephant in the room. Visa processing times are not just numbers on a government website. They represent months, sometimes years of your life. They affect your plans, your family, your career, and your peace of mind. That's why it's so important to have the most accurate, up-to-date information and to understand not just the what, but the why behind the numbers. So if you're tired of generic advice and want real insights, you're in the right place. First, let's talk about why processing times matter so much right now. In September 2025, Australia's Department of Home Affairs released updated figures for all major visa categories. These updates reflect not just the volume of applications, but also the government's shifting priorities, staffing levels, and the impact of recent policy changes. If you've been following the news, you know that Australia's immigration landscape is constantly evolving. From new regional migration incentives to changes in student visa requirements, every tweak in policy can ripple through the system and affect how long you'll wait. But before we dive into the numbers, let's set the stage with a quick overview of the main visa categories we'll be covering today. Whether you're applying for a skilled migration visa, a student visa, a partner or family visa, a visitor visa, or a working holiday visa, each pathway has its own unique timeline and challenges. And within each category, there are multiple subclasses, each with its own rules and processing times. It can feel like a maze, but I'm here to guide you through it, step by step. Let's start with the skilled migration visas, the backbone of Australia's economic migration program. If you're a professional with in-demand skills, you've probably heard of the subclass 189, skilled independent, subclass 190, skilled nominated, and subclass 186, employer nomination scheme visas. These are some of the most sought-after pathways for people who want to build a long-term future in Australia. But here's the catch. Demand is high, and processing times can fluctuate based on everything from occupation ceilings to state nomination quotas. As of September 2025, the median processing time for the subclass 189 visa is 8 months. That's a slight increase from earlier this year, but still within the range that most applicants expect. The subclass 190 visa, which requires state or territory nomination, currently takes 17 to 25 months to process. That's a significant wait, and it's important to plan accordingly. The subclass 186 direct entry visa, for those with a job offer from an Australian employer, takes 12 to 18 months. These numbers might seem daunting, but remember, every application is unique, and there are ways to avoid unnecessary delays. Now let's contrast that with the student visa category. If you're planning to study in Australia, you'll be glad to know that student visas are among the fastest to process, provided you submit a complete and accurate application. The higher education stream is currently being processed in 25 days to 5 months. That's a wide range, but most straightforward cases are on the shorter end. The postgraduate research sector takes 27 days to 11 months, while the vocational education and training sector ranges from 5 to 13 months. The key takeaway here is that early, thorough preparation can make a huge difference. Don't wait until the last minute to apply, and double-check every document before you hit submit. But what about those who want to visit Australia for a holiday, to see family, or to explore the country before making a bigger move? Visitor visas and working holiday visas are processed much more quickly, at least in most cases. The visitor visa can take anywhere from 6 to 41 days, depending on the stream and your country of origin. The working holiday, subclass 417 and 462, visas are processed in 1 to 76 days. That means you could be booking your flight in just a few weeks, or waiting a couple of months if there's a backlog. The lesson here? Don't make non-refundable travel plans until your visa is granted. Now let's talk about regional visas, a hot topic in 2025. Australia is actively encouraging skilled migrants to settle outside the major cities, and the government has introduced several incentives to make regional migration more attractive. The subclass 187, Regional Sponsored Migration Scheme, and the subclass 494, Skilled Employer-Sponsored Regional, visas are currently being processed in 89 days to 13 months. The subclass 491, Skilled Work Regional visa, takes 19 to 27 months. These timelines reflect the government's push to distribute migration benefits more evenly across the country, but they also highlight the importance of choosing the right pathway for your goals. Of course, not all news is good news. If you're applying for a parent or family visa, you'll need to brace yourself for a longer wait. The contributory parent visas, which require a significant financial investment, can take many years to process. The subclass 870, sponsored parent visa, is faster, at 70 days to 5 months, but it's a temporary solution. The government has introduced a family reunification stream to speed up processing for some applicants, but eligibility is limited. So, what's driving these timelines? Why do some visas move quickly while others seem to crawl? In the next section, we'll go behind the scenes to explore the factors that influence processing times, and I'll share insider tips to help you avoid common pitfalls. But before we move on, let's recap. Whether you're a student, a skilled worker, a visitor, or a family member, understanding the current processing times is the first step to planning your journey. And remember, these numbers are more than just statistics. They're the key to unlocking your future in Australia. Let's take a step back and look at what really shapes these visa processing times. It's easy to think of the Department of Home Affairs as a giant machine, churning through applications at a steady pace, but the reality is much more complex. Every application is a story, and every delay has a reason. If you've ever wondered why your friend's visa was approved in a matter of weeks while yours seems to be stuck in limbo, you're not alone. The truth is, there are multiple factors at play, and understanding them can help you avoid the most common pitfalls. One of the biggest influences on processing times is the completeness of your application. It might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people overlook a single document or miss a checkbox on an online form. The Department of Home Affairs has made it clear. Incomplete applications are one of the main reasons for delays. If you forget to upload a required document, or if your information doesn't match across forms, your application can be pushed to the back of the queue. It's like showing up to the airport without your boarding pass. No matter how early you arrive, you're not getting on that plane until everything is in order. Another major factor is the complexity of your case. Some visas, like the skilled, independent, or student visas, are relatively straightforward if you meet all the criteria. Others, like partner or family visas, can be much more complicated. If your application involves multiple family members, previous visa refusals, or unusual circumstances, it will likely take longer to process. The department has to verify every detail, sometimes reaching out to other government agencies or even conducting interviews. This is especially true for partner visas, where the government is on the lookout for fraudulent or non-genuine relationships. If your case is complex, be prepared for a longer wait, and make sure you provide as much supporting evidence as possible. Staffing levels and government priorities also play a huge role. Immigration is a political issue in Australia, and priorities can shift quickly depending on the government's goals. For example, if there's a sudden push to attract more skilled workers to regional areas, you might see faster processing times for regional visas and longer waits for other categories. Similarly, If there's a backlog in one area, resources might be diverted from other streams to catch up. This means that processing times can change from month to month, and what was true last year might not apply today. External checks are another piece of the puzzle. Every visa application goes through a series of background checks, including health, character, and security screenings. These checks are essential for maintaining the integrity of Australia's immigration system, but they can add weeks or even months to the process. If you've lived in multiple countries, have a common name, or need additional medical tests, your application might take longer to clear these hurdles. The good news is that most applicants pass these checks without any issues, but it's important to be honest and thorough in your application to avoid unnecessary delays. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention: the emotional side of waiting. It's easy to focus on the numbers and forget that behind every application is a person with hopes, dreams, and sometimes a lot of anxiety. The uncertainty can be tough, especially if you're separated from loved ones or putting your career on hold. That's why it's so important to have a plan for coping with the wait. Stay connected with others who are going through the same process. Keep yourself busy with work or study, and remember that delays are often out of your control. The key is to focus on what you can control, like submitting a complete application and staying informed about updates. Let's shift gears and look at some practical tips to help you avoid the most common mistakes. First, always use the official checklists provided by the Department of Home Affairs. These checklists are updated regularly and are your best guide to making sure you have everything you need. Double-check every document, and if you're not sure about something, seek advice from a registered migration agent or a trusted source. It's better to spend a little extra time up front than to risk months of delays because of a missing form. Second, submit your application as early as possible, especially if you're applying for a student or visitor visa. Processing times can spike during peak periods, like the start of the academic year or major holidays. By getting your application in early, you give yourself the best chance of a smooth process. And remember, online applications are almost always faster than paper ones, so take advantage of the digital tools available. Third, keep an eye on your application status through your IME account. The department will notify you if they need more information, but it's your responsibility to respond quickly. Set up email alerts, check your account regularly, and don't ignore any requests for additional documents. A prompt response can make a big difference in how quickly your application moves forward. Finally, be realistic about your timeline. Even with the best preparation, some delays are unavoidable. If you're applying for a partner or parent visa, understand that the process can take years. Make contingency plans, keep your expectations in check, and don't make irreversible commitments like quitting your job or selling your house until your visa is granted. Let's begin our deep dive into the specific visa categories, starting with skilled migration visas. These are some of the most popular pathways for people who want to build a new life in Australia, and for good reason. Australia's economy relies on skilled workers from around the world, and the government regularly updates its list of in-demand occupations to attract the best talent. If you have qualifications and experience in areas like engineering, healthcare, IT, or trades, you might be eligible for one of these visas. But as with any opportunity, there are challenges to consider, and processing times are a big part of the equation. The subclass 189 skilled independent visa is often seen as the gold standard for skilled migrants. It doesn't require sponsorship from an employer or a state government, which gives you a lot of flexibility once you arrive in Australia. As of September 2025, the median processing time for this visa is 8 months. That means half of all applications are processed in less than 8 months, while the other half take longer. It's important to remember that this is just a median, not a guarantee. Some people get their visas in as little as 4 months, while others wait over a year. The key factors that influence your timeline include the accuracy of your application, the demand for your occupation, and whether you're asked to provide additional information. Next up is the subclass 190 skilled nominated visa. This visa requires you to be nominated by an Australian state or territory government, which can add an extra layer of complexity to the process. Each state has its own list of priority occupations and its own requirements for nomination. Once you receive a nomination, your application is submitted to the Department of Home Affairs for processing. The current processing time for the subclass 190 visa is between 17 and 25 months. This longer timeline reflects the additional steps involved, as well as the high demand for places in this category. If you're considering this pathway, it's essential to research the specific requirements of your chosen state and to prepare your documents carefully. The subclass 186 Employer Nomination Scheme visa is another popular option for skilled workers who have a job offer from an Australian employer. This visa allows you to live and work in Australia permanently, and it's a great choice if you have a strong relationship with your employer. The processing time for the direct entry stream of the subclass 186 visa is currently 12 to 18 months. This timeline can vary depending on the employer's track record with sponsoring workers, the occupation you're applying for, and the completeness of your application. If your employer has sponsored workers before and has a good reputation with the department, your application may move more quickly. Let's contrast these skilled migration visas with the student visa category. Student visas are among the fastest to process, especially if you're applying for the higher education stream. As of September 2025, the processing time for this stream ranges from 25 days to 5 months. Most straightforward applications are processed on the shorter end of that range, especially if you submit all required documents and meet the eligibility criteria. The postgraduate research sector has a processing time of 27 days to 11 months, while the vocational education and training sector takes 5 to 13 months. The main takeaway here is that early preparation and attention to detail can significantly reduce your wait time. Visitor visas and working holiday visas are also worth discussing, as they are popular options for people who want to experience Australia before making a long-term commitment. Visitor visas are processed in as little as 6 days, but can take up to 41 days depending on the stream and your country of origin. Working holiday visas, including the subclass 417 and 462, are processed in 1 to 76 days. These quick turnaround times make them attractive for young travelers and those looking to explore Australia's culture and lifestyle. However, it's still important to apply early and avoid making travel plans until your visa is approved. Regional visas have become increasingly important in recent years as the Australian government encourages skilled migrants to settle outside the major cities. The subclass 187 Regional Sponsored Migration Scheme and the subclass 494 Skilled Employer Sponsored Regional Visas are currently processed in 89 days to 13 months. The subclass 491 Skilled Work Regional Visa takes 19 to 27 months. These timelines reflect the government's efforts to balance migration across the country and support regional economies. If you're open to living in a regional area, these visas can offer faster processing and additional benefits, such as access to certain government services and pathways to permanent residency. Parent and family visas are a different story altogether. The contributory parent visas, which require a significant financial investment, can take many years to process. Some applicants wait more than a decade for a decision. The subclass 870 Sponsored Parent Visa is a faster option, with processing times ranging from 70 days to 5 months, but it's a temporary visa that allows parents to stay in Australia for up to 5 years at a time. The government has also introduced a family reunification stream to speed up processing for certain applicants, but eligibility is limited and demand is high. Skilled temporary visas, such as those in the Skills in Demand stream, have their own set of processing times. The core skills stream has a median processing time of 90 days to 5 months, while the specialist stream is processed in 19 to 85 days. The labor agreement stream takes 4 to 5 months. These timelines can vary depending on the occupation, the employer, and the specifics of the labor agreement. If your skills are in high demand, you may benefit from faster processing. but it's important to stay informed about changes in government policy and labor market needs. Section 4, 300 words. Let's bring these numbers to life with some real-world examples. Imagine Priya, a software engineer from India, who applied for the subclass 189 skilled independent visa. She submitted a complete application with all required documents, and her occupation was on the high-demand list. Her visa was granted in just under 7 months, which was faster than the median processing time. Priya's experience shows how being thorough and applying in a priority occupation can make a real difference. Now consider Alex, a student from Brazil, who applied for a higher education student visa. He waited until the last minute to submit his application and had to provide additional documents after the department requested more information. His processing time stretched to almost 5 months, right at the upper end of the range. Alex's story is a reminder that early preparation and attention to detail are crucial, especially for student visas. Then there's Maria, who applied for a contributory parent visa to join her daughter in Australia. Despite submitting everything correctly, Maria's application has been in the system for over 8 years. The long wait is due to high demand and limited places in the parent visa category. Maria's patience and realistic expectations have helped her cope with the uncertainty. These stories highlight the importance of understanding your visa category, preparing your application carefully, and managing your expectations. Every applicant's journey is unique, but the common thread is that preparation and patience are key. In the next section, we'll explore practical strategies you can use to improve your chances of a smooth and timely visa process, no matter which category you're applying for. When it comes to improving your chances of a smooth visa process, preparation is your best friend. Start by gathering all your documents well in advance. Make a checklist based on the official requirements for your visa category and double-check every item before you submit your application. If you are unsure about any part of the process, consider consulting a registered migration agent or seeking advice from someone who has successfully navigated the system. Timing is also crucial. Try to submit your application as early as possible, especially if you are applying for a student or visitor visa. Processing times can increase during peak periods, such as before the start of the academic year or major holidays. By applying early, you give yourself a buffer in case there are any unexpected delays or requests for additional information. Staying organized throughout the process can save you a lot of stress. Keep digital copies of all your documents and correspondence with the Department of Home Affairs. Set reminders to check your IME account regularly and respond promptly to any requests for more information. A quick response can sometimes mean the difference between a short wait and a long delay. Finally, keep your expectations realistic. Even with perfect preparation, some factors are beyond your control, such as changes in government policy or sudden increases in application volume. Focus on what you can control and be patient with the rest. In the next section, we will look at some of the most common mistakes applicants make and how you can avoid them to keep your application on track. Recent policy changes in Australia have had a noticeable impact on visa processing times in 2025. The government has shifted its focus toward attracting skilled workers to regional areas, which means regional visas are now being prioritized in many cases. This shift is part of a broader strategy to balance population growth and support local economies outside the major cities. If you are considering a regional pathway, you may benefit from faster processing and additional incentives, such as access to certain government services and a clearer path to permanent residency. At the same time, the government has introduced stricter requirements for some visa categories, particularly student and partner visas. These changes are designed to maintain the integrity of the immigration system and ensure that only genuine applicants are approved. For example, student visa applicants now need to provide more detailed evidence of their financial capacity and academic intentions. Partner visa applicants are being asked for more comprehensive proof of their relationship, which can include joint financial commitments, shared living arrangements, and ongoing communication records. Staying informed about these policy changes is essential. The Department of Home Affairs regularly updates its website with the latest requirements and processing times. Subscribing to official newsletters or following reputable migration news sources can help you stay ahead of the curve. If you are working with a migration agent, make sure they are aware of the latest updates and can guide you accordingly. Global events and external factors can have a significant impact on visa processing times, sometimes in ways that are hard to predict. For example, international travel restrictions, changes in global health guidelines, or sudden shifts in economic conditions can all affect how quickly applications are processed. Even when Australia's internal systems are running smoothly, events in other countries can create delays, especially if additional security or health checks are required. If you find yourself affected by these external factors, the best approach is to stay flexible and keep your plans adaptable. Monitor official updates from the Department of Home Affairs and be prepared to adjust your timeline if necessary. Having backup plans, such as alternative travel dates or temporary accommodation options, can help reduce stress if your visa is delayed. Remember, the visa process is just one part of your journey to Australia. By staying informed, prepared, and patient, you can navigate even the most unexpected challenges. Your persistence and adaptability will serve you well, not just during the application process, but throughout your new life in Australia. Thank you for following along with this detailed update on Australia visa processing times for September 2025. If you found this information helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you never miss an important update. If you have questions about your specific situation or want to share your own visa journey, leave a comment below. I read every message and do my best to respond. For more tips, real-life stories, and the latest immigration news, check out the other videos on this channel. Your journey to Australia is important, and staying informed is the best way to move forward with confidence. Good luck with your application, and I hope to see you in Australia soon.